What sounds like complete bullshit but is actually true. There are more tigers in captivity in the US than in the wild worldwide. Orcas are natural predators of moose. In Alaska, the moose swim between islands. Orcas nab them. Clouds weigh hundreds of thousands of pounds. Paint on a plane can add 600 to 1,200 pounds to the weight of the aircraft. If sound could travel through space, the roar of the sun would be deafening even though it's 93 miles away. 14 years before the Titanic sank, a fictional story was written by a man named Morgan Robertson. In the story, the ship was described as the largest ever built at the time, same as the Titanic. It was also woefully short on lifeboats. And it also struck an iceberg and sank. The ship in the story was also a triple-screw propeller liner. And it was named the Titan. Sharks have existed on Earth for longer than trees have. The longest manned, refueled flight in history was 64 days long. The aircraft used was a Cessna 172. All the planets in our solar system can fit between the Earth and the Moon. No one born after 1935 has set foot on the Moon. There were mammoths after the Great Pyramids were built for 500 years. There are 7 U.S. states that have laws saying atheists can't hold office. Tumors can have hair and teeth. For women giving birth to twins, the longest recorded time between the first twin being born and the second is 90 days. Tampa, Florida has never reached 100 degrees. 50 Shades of Grey was a result of 9/11. Gerard Way witnessed the 9/11 attacks from a boat on his way to work in NYC. As an outlet for what he saw, he started My Chemical Romance the next day. Stephenie Meyer was a fan of MCR and their music was used as inspiration for the Twilight books. 50 Shades of Grey was originally a Twilight fanfiction before being changed to be its own thing. Bonus fun fact: when making the Twilight movies, the production reached out to MCR work on music for them. Not only did they refuse, they also made the song Vampire Money in response. 1 day on Venus is longer than 1 year on Venus. Edit. Clarification: it takes Venus 225 Earth days to complete 1 revolution around the Sun. However, its rotation is so slow that 1 Venusian day takes 243 Earth days to complete. Edit 2. Further clarification and grammatical fixes. In 1978, a dolphin named Mr. Spock at Marine World in the SF Bay Area accidentally ate a bolt when some construction was being done on his tank. Surgery was too risky and it wouldn't be able to be passed. They had to reach in and pull out the bolt. With medical technology being what it was in the 70s, robots weren't an option and a dolphin's esophagus is really long. Here is where Golden State Warriors player Ray Flipper, love the irony, comes in. Out for the season for injury and with an 8-foot wingspan. He was called in, lubed up, and reached down the dolphin's gullet to retrieve the bolt without any further distress to Mr. Spock. And #X200B. TLDR. An NBA player saved a dolphin by reaching into his stomach. If you change the names of North America and South America to West America and East America, respectively, you'd also be right. Squirrels can be ferocious killers that snack on those adorable little chipmunks on occasion. Restarting your computer will fix it. You're more likely to be killed by a cow than from a shark attack. Imagine that. Blink-182 violated the Geneva Conventions. In an early form of the album cover of Enema of the State, there is a female nurse with the famous Red Cross on her hat. The Geneva Convention specifically bars people from using that without express permission from the Red Cross. The band was told, and the new cover no longer has the cross on it. I love telling this one. During WW2 there was a Dutch ship in the Indonesia area that was surrounded by Japanese warships. They couldn't fight back because they were heavily outgunned and outnumbered. But they also couldn't surrender because, well, because it's Japan in WW2. So what do? They put up a bunch of inflatables and disguises, cut all their engines, and pretend to be a tiny island. And it worked. Edit. Whoever gave the award, thank you. I've been on Reddit for nearly 4 years and this is my first one, lol. Edit 2. Why the fuck does this keep getting awards? Edit 3. I stand corrected just so no one gives an award out of pity. I remembered I have gotten an award once, but it was only the one time and it was years ago. Anyway, that's not important. What is Netherlands ingenuity? The medical program for junior DRs was designed by a cocaine addict. This is why it is so grueling, many hours etc. Colorado has a high Buddhist population due to the CIA training Tibetan guerrilla fighters in the Rockies during the 60s to fight the Chinese communists, but then abandoning the plan. Butterflies and moths start out as eggs, hatch into caterpillars, turn themselves into cocoons and then basically turn into mush, finally to emerge as an adult butterfly or moth whose main purpose in life is to reproduce and lay more eggs. Yet they can still retain memories from when they were caterpillars. We live closer in time to the T-Rex than the T-Rex did to the Stegosaurus. People don't realize how big the difference is between 1 million and 1 billion. 1 million seconds is 11 days. 1 billion second is 31 years. One 18-inch pizza is bigger than two 12-inch pizzas. The American tendency to call all sparkling wine champagne is a direct result of Congress not ratifying the Treaty of Versailles. The Beatles were only a band for 10 years. Their recording discography is only 7 years between their first and their last albums. They had two distinctly different eras. The Mop Top years and the Acid years. Yet they were only around for 10 years. There was only one surgery ever performed with a 300% fatality rate. The surgeon, Robert Liston, was amputating a leg. He cut through the guy's leg so fast that he accidentally cut off an assistant's thumb. They both died from sepsis. And a third person died of shock. The first major troop engagement during the American Civil War, the First Battle of Bull Run, took place on and around the property of Wilmer McLean in Manassas, Virginia, in late July of 1861. After the battle, McLean decided to move about 190 kilometers south to the community of Appomattox Courthouse, in Appomattox County, also in Virginia. Nearly 4 full years later, in April of 1865, a Confederate messenger completely unaware of McLean's prior involvement in the war, knocked on the door of McLean's new home and asked if Robert E. Lee might use the house on the following day to meet with Ulysses Grant and sign a formal surrender. McLean reluctantly agreed. Sometime later, Wilmer McLean is supposed to have said, "The war began in my front yard and ended in my front parlor." A historical coincidence that I've always had trouble believing, but is accepted as fact. Drinking beer after being exposed to some kinds of ionizing radiation can reduce the adverse effects. Sometimes deer eat birds, snakes, rabbits, squirrels, or frogs. The lead singer of the punk band The Offspring has a PhD in molecular biology. Of the approximately 69 trillion cells that make up a human body, about 39 trillion of those cells are not human: bacteria, fungi, viruses. Some plants' seeds need to burn in a fire before they can grow, sprout. Edit. Here's a good read on pyrophytic plants. The CIA did experiments with LSD on entire towns in the US and Canada without their knowledge or consent, dosing them to study the effects. Prisoners, minorities, prostitutes as well. Often it was very sexual. Project MK Ultra. They procured 100,000 doses of LSD for this shit. Multiple kilograms of the stuff. It takes about 0.0001 g to be intoxicated, so yeah. The CIA also set up brothels with one-way mirrors to monitor and film men who had been unknowingly given high amounts of LSD. They filmed it all. And this was, no joke, called Operation Midnight Climax. And that's barely the tip of the iceberg with MK Ultra. When I've told my friends or family about it, they look at me like I'm a flat earther or Sandy Hook denier. It's that level of wacky conspiracy shit, but it's true. Oh, and also this fuckery is almost certainly what led to the mental implosion and motives for the Unabomber who killed several people with mail bombs. Yay. Bill O'Reilly and Glenn Beck publicly supported gay marriage before Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton did. If you make $68 000 per year. It will take you 14,700 years just to make $1 billion. Now multiply that by anywhere from 20 or 200. That is how rich a dozen or so humans are. Giraffes and humans have the same number of neck bones. There are more castles in Germany than there are McDonald's in America. The world record for the longest rifle shot hitting the target is 774 yards. Which is approximately 4 miles. It's absolutely insane when you put the distance into perspective. Gravity propagates at the speed of light. I.e., if the sun suddenly disappeared, it would take approximately 8 minutes for us to see it was gone, and at the same time, the Earth would be flung off into space. George H.W. Bush, later President of the United States, was nearly eaten by cannibals. Edit. Downvoted? It is, in fact, true. London, UK, is technically a forest, the largest urban forest in the world, and has almost as many trees as people. Forest, by a particular definition, is used by the United Nations and the Forestry Commission as anywhere that is more than 20% trees. London is 21%. Dave Chappelle recently spoke to my wife and I from the stage at a show. We were lucky enough to have front row seats for the first time ever in my life for anything, and was extremely nice to us. Even had his crew bring us 2 shots from the back. I am 6 months sober and almost died at Christmas from drinking. When the spotlight went onto us in expectation of us to drink them, I slowly handed mine to my wife and Dave asked what's wrong. My wife explained the situation quickly, to which he said oh shit, and ran over to take the cups back from us and apologized. He complimented my wife and said Eminem needs a wife like you. Later in the show he emptied the cup he had been drinking from on stage. A small black plastic tumbler with the C logo on it, and commented to the crowd how he was going to give this glass to one of his fans. Walked over to me, held it out and said always keep this cup dry man, and smiled and winked at me. He has been a lifelong hero of mine. And I consider myself someone who doesn't give in to celebrity and thinks all people are just people. But for the first time in my life I was left speechless, and I just remember saying quietly thank you. David. Asbestos was only banned in the UK in 1999. The unbelievable part is, asbestos was known to be dangerous as far back as the ancient Egypt. About 2500–3000 BC. And #X200b. It only took us 4,500–5,000 years to ban it. And #X200b. Edit. Oh wow, over 1,000 upvotes. Am I an influencer now? In all honesty, it's pretty cool people dig this. Another fun fact. The ban on asbestos happened 25 years after the introduction of the Health and Safety at Work regs. Until then, the use of asbestos disproportionately hurt and killed poor people. Not exclusively, but disproportionately. With this new law that could jail people who put their employees at very high risk, the use of asbestos was limited and eliminated. Funny that Reno, Nevada is further west than La California. Sloths can hold their breath longer than dolphins can. At one point in evolutionary history, every mammal laid eggs. Monotremes are the ancestral reproductive strategy. Viviparous birth is the derived one. Polar bears and penguins don't coexist in the wild. Polar bears are only in the northern hemisphere while penguins are only in the southern hemisphere. Dragonflies experience up to 9 gigaseconds when cornering. They are the most efficient predator, catching up to 95% of the prey they go after. They breathe through their anus, and most varieties, not sure if that's the correct word, can't walk. Woody Harrelson's father was a mob hitman who killed a federal judge and was locked up in a DX Supermax. Sounds like bullshit, but 100% true. When you lose weight, about 85% is expelled from your nose and the most of the rest is expelled as pee. Very little is expelled as heat. Edit. There was more heat in this conversation than the amount purportedly lost through heat. Either the sounds like BS part is that weight loss is through your nose and pee. Also yes. I cat and spool. Coal power kills more people every day than nuclear power has in its entire history. The closest planet to Earth most often is Mercury. In fact, the closest planet for any planet in the solar system is most often Mercury. That water around the mantis shrimp's clubs reaches the temperature of the sun's surface for a brief moment when striking. At least that's what the guy in the documentary said. One Punch Shrimp stole this from the comments below. Thanks. For the people who read Mantis Strip Club first. It's more sanitary to not wash your chicken. Of all the people in world history who lived to age 65, half of them are alive today. There is a gene, named after the video game, called the Sonic Hedgehog gene. It was then promptly discovered that a disorder of this gene was responsible for horrific birth defects, including holoprosencephaly and facial deformation. They tend to use the abbreviation when explaining the condition to devastated mothers instead of going the idiocracy way and coming in like says here on your chart your kid's fucked up. That's Sonic for ya. Redheads are likely to need more anesthesia than people with other hair colors. A sitting president once asked a state to manufacture 12,000 votes in a national election so he could win. They didn't. He lost. But he still tells everyone he won. There is more energy unleashed in a typical mid-latitude summer thunderstorm marching across America than if all nukes in the world's arsenals detonated. I was at a party with Miss Czech Republic and Heath Ledger was DJing. Matt Damon was there too. In America you can have a full-time job that is only legally required to pay you $7.25 an hour. And they have no requirement to provide you with any paid time off or federal holiday pay. Presidents in the USA die at a rate of 9%, making it the position with the highest death rate. Alaska is the northernmost, westernmost and easternmost state in the U.S. There is a town in Alaska called Talkeetna where a cat named Stubbs served as the honorary mayor for 20 years. Stubbs, a part Manx cat, was elected as the mayor of Talkeetna in 1997 as a write-in candidate after residents weren't satisfied with the human candidates running for mayor. Despite not having any official powers, Stubbs became a beloved figure in the town and even attracted tourists who wanted to meet the mayor. Stubbs passed away in 2017 at the age of 20. But his legacy as the honorary mayor of Talkeetna lives on. It's a quirky and heartwarming tale that showcases the unique and sometimes whimsical nature of small-town life. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like. If you would like to see more content like this in the future, subscribe and turn on notifications to be notified about future videos. Now check out one of these interesting videos.